What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Today, I'd like to talk about one of the most monumental, historic, and controversial Mario Kart 64 times of all time. And this is none other than Steven Zwartjes' 158.14 on Luigi Raceway 3 lap. And we're going to get into a little bit on why this time was so monumental and, like I said, controversial. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the track. So, we can see starting in the late 90s, we had players already getting times in the low 2-minute range, and by 1998, the first sub 2 had been achieved. I'm going to be going off of PAL times because that was the most commonly used, and still is the most commonly used version of the game to speedrun Mario Kart 64. And Steven Zwartjes, the main character of this video, he first acquired his hands on the world record in September of 1999 with a 1:59.30, and he was already getting pretty good in the game in general at this time. As we can see here, he achieved world champ status on October 27th of that same year. And Luigi Raceway being a very simple track, it heavily favors mechanical skill, so it's not unlikely for the best player overall to hold the record. It's not a super track knowledge based track. There's no huge tricks or gimmicks like some other tracks in like DKJP or Yoshi Valley, right? So we can see here that he actually did set some more world records on this track. If we go to his world record history page, we can see he set another one on October 26th, the day before he obtained world champ status, and then another one 4 days later. And this one was a massive cut, right? This was 0.51 seconds off of a very simple track, like I said, so that's pretty unprecedented. But he does have a video for this time, and we can see this here. He uses no shortcuts, so to clarify, this is only going to be discussing the non-shortcut side of things, of course. But yeah, we can see that this time from, when is it? 1999 still has surviving video, so that's pretty cool. But then as we can see, he lost world record by 0.01 to Lacey, and then MJ beat that later on. And then comes 2003, and Steven submits a time of 1:58.14. Another half-second cut, pretty much, but this one is much more monumental because by this time the track was getting a lot more optimized, so time being saved was getting thinner and thinner. And as we can see, this time lasted for 775 days, which, for the early days of Mario Kart, that's a lot of time. But as you can probably see, there's no hyperlink on this time, and that's because there's actually no video for this time. And that's part of the reason why this time is so controversial. And, you might be wondering if how he cheated this, if he did cheat. I don't want to claim that he did cheat, but, any intelligent person would find this somewhat skeptical, because the way Mario Kart 64 works is that you can replay your times. There's a vanilla replay, unlike some other kart games, so there's really no excuse to not have a video even if you weren't recording live, because you can use the replay function, and that's what a lot of these old records have. Like we can see MJ's 1:38.24, or which is 1:58.12 converted to PAL. You can see this green replay text in the top right, which indicates that he's using the replay function. So you'd think if someone got that monumental of a cut, they'd want to record it, right? So that's a big thing that makes this suspicious. And another interesting thing about Luigi Raceway is there actually was a shortcut discovered pretty early on. If I can show this real quick. Alex Penev, one of the goats of speedrunning, by the way, he was one of the first people to record a video with this shortcut, so we can see what kind of strats people were using back then. And you can see you can jump over this wall and basically skip like half of the track, getting laps that can save 20 seconds. So if we go look at this shortcut history right here too, we can see that Steven Zwartjes actually did have a shortcut world record, so he definitely was aware and knew how to do the shortcut. So you might be thinking, oh, he could have definitely used the shortcut and then artificially delayed the lap, like going across the finish line to make it like more realistic of a 3-lap time, right? And that's definitely possible, you know. We don't know that, but that's what makes it so interesting. It's because he actually could have gotten this time, but it's really hard to tell. Um, and this time actually did end up getting beaten, of course. So MJ beat it by .02, but it took him a long time. And at this point, MJ had been champ for 2 years, so you'd think that the world champ would probably be able to get the world record on Luigi Raceway without too much difficulty. Like I said, it's a pretty raw, skill-based track that heavily favors mechanical skill, which MJ did have, of course. But it took him 2 years to get that. You know, obviously he wasn't playing that track every day, every hour of every day until then, but that's still a long time. And another interesting thing that's also suspicious about this time is if we go to Steven's world record history, we can see he started playing in 97 and then progressively got more and more world records in 98 and then 99 when he became champ. But you can see here that he kind of slowed down in the mid 2000 or mid 2000 and then only set 2 records in 2001. But then 2 years later, all of a sudden, he comes out of seemingly nowhere and sets this insane time, right? Like, it's pretty uncommon for someone to just come back and, like, after a 2 year hiatus and just set this crazy time. Like, he wasn't grinding much before that, so that's another thing that makes this super suspicious, right? But yeah, we can see he does have video of his 158.65, and I did actually stumble across this video of Steven Zwartjes showing off his times on his cartridge, and you know we can clearly see his 158.65 is former world record, and the 158.14 is right there. Something interesting though is that there are no times in between these top two. So that's another suspicious thing, right? Like, you'd think maybe he would want to beat his time again, possibly. Um, and if he were to do that, he would probably like finish runs that were close, but like not totally a personal best. But we don't see that at all. Uh, so that's pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, another thing that I found is I was browsing the old Mario Kart 64 forums, so there's actually a lot of history here. There's posts archived all the way back from 2004 until the present day. And I did find this thread talking about MJ's 138.24 or 158.12, which is the PAL time. And a lot of people are congratulating him, but seemingly people were inclined to believe that Steven's time was real. You know, I wasn't around back then, so I don't really know, you know, the community census about what he was like as a player, um, and how trustworthy he was, but, and we can see here Steven was posting on these forums, saying, "Somebody pass me a bloody new controller stick." He possibly would have tried to defend his record, but as we can see here, he most likely did not attempt that since he doesn't have any times between his 14 and his 65. Um, but yeah, so another interesting thing about this time is that if you look at the Luigi Raceway 3-lap leaderboards on the players page, we can see that the world record is down to a 157.6 now, but if we see the time where Steven's time would be, the 158.14, it's not here. And this is actually due to a rule where all top 10 times require video on the players page. And so it's really funny how this time it's on MarioKartWorldRecords.com, which, you know, that holds a lot more prestige being like on a world record site than just being top 10 on a website, right? Um, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's really crazy to think like if this time actually is legitimate, that's such a monumental and historic cut on such an already optimized track, but you know, part of me is inclined to feel it's legitimate because the world record was beaten. Like this isn't just some unobtainable time, right? Like it's clearly been beaten many times at this point. So it really makes you wonder about the legitimacy in this time. And you also got to think like what MJ was thinking. Like he probably saw that and was like, "Dude, what the hell is going on? How did he get this?" But he kept grinding the track and he eventually beat it. So props to him. But yeah, I just wanted to discuss this speed lore, if you will, because I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, and I find it to be really interesting. But yeah, thanks for watching.